Hey there, I'm Sarah Colton, and I've got something pretty wild to share with you that totally changed my life. Honestly, I've been trying to find the right way to tell this story, but it feels way too important to keep to myself. So, back on April 3rd, 2023, I had an experience that blew my mind. For 12 minutes, I was clinically dead, no heartbeat, no breath, but instead of just fading into nothing, I ended up somewhere incredible. It was so real and profound that I'm still wrapping my head around it. And guess what? What I experienced wasn't just for me. It was a message for all of us. Let me give you some background. I've been an emergency room nurse for over 10 years, so my life has always been about science and facts. I've seen the highs and lows of humanity, heartbreaking moments, and moments of amazing strength. If you had told me a year ago that I'd be sitting here sharing a story about dying and coming back with a message from Jesus, I would have thought you were nuts. But life has a funny way of flipping everything you believe upside down. That morning started pretty normally. I'd had a restless night after my kids' soccer game. You know how your mind races with all the stuff you need to do. I woke up early and decided to go for a jog to clear my head. The streets were quiet, wrapped in that calm before dawn. There was a light fog in the air, and it felt refreshing. I remember checking my watch. 5:12 a.m. Everything felt so ordinary. Then, out of nowhere, it happened. I don't remember the crash, but later, I found out a distracted driver, someone glued to their phone, hit me while I was crossing the street. 1 minute, I was there, alive and well. The next, everything went dark, or so I thought. Just darkness, silence, and an end. But instead, I found myself in the most amazing place. The first thing that hit me was the light. It wasn't like sunlight or any kind of artificial light we know. It was pure, warm, and alive. It wrapped around me, not just lighting up my surroundings, but filling me with this indescribable sense of peace. And when I say peace, I mean it was like the complete absence of fear, pain, or worry. Everything that had ever weighed me down just disappeared. It felt like I was finally home. As I stood there, trying to figure it all out, I noticed colors, vivid, radiant colors that I'd never seen before. The air felt like it was buzzing with energy and music that came from everywhere all at once. It wasn't like any music I'd ever heard. It was like joy and love turned into sound. Then I saw someone walking toward me. It was my dad. He passed away when I was a teenager, but there he was, looking vibrant and healthy, like he was at the peak of his life. I recognized him instantly. His smile was the same, but he had this heavenly glow, a purity I can't really describe. "Sarah," he said, his voice full of love and warmth, "you don't need to be afraid. He's waiting for you." Before I could ask what he meant, he reached out and touched my hand. In that moment, I felt this deep connection, like every question I'd ever wanted to ask him was answered without him saying a word. It was overwhelming, but also comforting. "There's something you need to see," he said. Suddenly, the light around me got brighter and more focused. And then there he was. Jesus, I'm not kidding when I say. Trying to describe him feels impossible. He wasn't like any image or picture I'd ever seen. His presence was both human and divine, radiating a love and power I've never felt before. His eyes, they held everything, compassion, wisdom, and a depth that seemed to see straight through me, not just who I am, but who I've been and who I'm meant to be. I fell to my knees, not out of fear, but because being in his presence was so humbling. He reached out and put his hand on my shoulder. "Sarah," he said, his voice gentle yet strong, "there's something you must see, something my people need to know before I return." Then he showed me 4 events, each one more incredible and sobering than the last. Jesus said, "But the cost of following me will be great. Tell them to stand firm, for the reward is eternal. The last event was the great return. The sky split open, and there he was, coming in glory with legions of angels. The whole world stopped, every knee bowed, and every tongue confessed that Jesus is Lord. Some did it in awe and worship, others did it in fear. It was the most beautiful and powerful thing I've ever seen. This is what awaits, Jesus said. Tell them I am coming soon. Tell them to be ready, for no one knows the day or the hour. As the vision started to fade, I found myself still kneeling before Jesus, overwhelmed by everything I'd witnessed. Yet his gaze never wavered. It felt like the whole universe could wait while he spoke directly to me, his words sinking deep into my heart. "Sarah," he said, "the world is entering a time unlike any it has known. You've seen what is to come, but remember this: I am always with you, and I am always with my people. My love is unchanging, and my promises are unbreakable. Even in the midst of trials and chaos, those who trust in me will find peace beyond understanding." He paused for a moment, and the light around him felt warmer, like his presence could chase away any fear. "You're going to have some tough days, even you," he said. "But remember this: I picked you for this message not because you're perfect, but because you're willing. Trust in my strength, not your own. And don't forget, you're not carrying this message alone. My Spirit will guide you and give you the right words when you need them." Before I could say anything, he placed his hand over my heart, and I was hit with such a wave of love that I couldn't help but cry. "Tell my people I see their struggles, fears, and failures. I'm not far away from their pain. I'm the God who heals, restores, and makes everything new. They're never alone. I'm always with them." As his hand lifted, the light around us started to shift, and I could feel the experience wrapping up. "Now, Sarah," he said gently but firmly, "it's time for you to go back. Your work isn't done. Tell them I'm coming soon." In a flash, everything changed. The bright colors, the music, the incredible peace, all of it felt like it was being sucked through a tiny hole of light. Then I felt it, a jolt, a pull, and a rush as I was pulled back into my body. The first thing I noticed was the pain. My chest felt like it was on fire, and I was gasping for air like I'd never done before. When I opened my eyes, I saw paramedics around me, their faces a mix of shock and relief. "She's back," one of them said, their voice shaking. "We've got her back." I could barely move or speak, but the tears rolling down my cheeks weren't from pain. They were from the overwhelming gratitude I felt for everything I'd just experienced. I wanted to share it with them, with everyone, but the words just wouldn't come. All I could do was hold on to one of the paramedics' hands, trying to express what I couldn't say yet. The days that followed were a whirlwind, both physically and emotionally. My recovery felt nothing short of miraculous. Even though I had been hit by a car, my injuries turned out to be way less severe than anyone thought. The doctors were baffled, calling my survival and quick healing incredible and unexplainable. But I knew the truth. During those early recovery days, lying in the hospital bed, I replayed everything I'd seen and heard: my dad's voice, Jesus' presence, the vision of what was to come. With that came a deep, unshakable clarity. I had to share this, no matter how tough or unbelievable it might sound. Getting back to normal life wasn't a walk in the park. I struggled with how to explain what had happened to my close friends and family. How do you talk about something so out of this world to people who might not get it? Some listened with awe. Others looked at me like I was crazy. But I kept reminding myself of what Jesus said. Some will doubt, some will mock, but those who are open will understand and get ready.